What the frickety? Never mind, I'm not going to do that. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for this Chapter 12 Mandalorian review. Now, of course, at the beginning of this, I'm going to tell every single one of you, I will be spoiling the crap out of the latest episode, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it right now, and then come back to this video. I'm not going to say anything else because I really want to jump right into this episode because honestly, it's probably my favorite episode of the entire season. I know I might get a little hate from that because of last week's episode. Honestly, this episode single-handedly was a standalone Mandalorian episode. What I mean by that is there was no existential characters that I already knew and loved, such as Bo-Katan showed up in the last episode, so I kind of had a history with her and stuff like that. So that dramatically affected my opinion of the episode. This episode, at the beginning of this episode, I was kind of a little because I was fully expecting just a pure filler episode. By the way, before I start continuing on with this episode, the reason I thought it was going to be a filler episode because Dave Filoni is directing next week, which if you didn't know, he was involved all around the Clone Wars and he basically created Ahsoka. And that's who we think is going to show up next week, obviously, seeing what we saw last week. Anyways, of course, Din Djarin's ship needs repairs and can't go all the way to Corvus. We head back to the friendly allies in Navarro. Now we head back to Navarro and it's really kind of a different place. Cara Dune, the former character from last season that we haven't seen yet this season, which I personally was super intrigued by this character. She fought for the rebellion and she's from Alderaan, which if you know Alderaan, the crime rate there is at an all-time low. I know that was a sick joke, but her character interests me and what happens to the people after Alderaan and all that stuff, which I'll get into some stuff about Alderaan later on in this episode, but I really was always intrigued by her character. Anyways, she's actually become the Marshal of Navarro. There's like these alien pirates back in the covert, you know, in that where the armorer was doing all of her stuff last season, and they're about to chop this rat's head off and he's screaming. It was kind of a really sick moment, honestly. It kind of really made me uncomfortable, to be honest. But she comes in, does a bunch of cool martial arts stuff, which she actually does, and she can actually do it. But it's really refreshing to see, you know, martial arts being taken place in a hand-to-hand combat scenario in the Star Wars universe. It's super cool. But she basically is cleaning up all of Navarro, and Navarro's pretty safe and pretty secure. So when Mando shows up on Navarro, he asks for repairs, obviously by Carl Weathers. By the way, he directed this episode, and I think he did a freaking great job. Of course, everything's not free in Navarro. So Carl Weathers asks Mando for some help. He goes back to his office to talk business, and sitting right there is Mithril, which if you don't know who Mithril is, he's the first bounty we saw on screen collected by Din Djarin in the first episode of The Mandalorian ever. The blue fish guy. He's basically paying off his debt as a bookkeeper. He has 350 years to go, which basically means he's going to have a lifetime of bookkeeping for him, which is super funny. Throughout the entire episode, he's kind of having him do stuff, and he's taking off years if he's, you know, being adventurous and stuff like that. Super funny, super cool. So basically, like I was saying before, where I thought this episode was going to be a filler was because they brought up an issue of an old Imperial base that if they cleared it out, Navarro would finally be free. So I thought they were just going to take this base out and that would be the episode. First, I thought they were actually just scouting it out and they got there, but we just went right into the base. Mando, you know, goes up on his jetpack, there's the docking bay, and they just start to go into the base. So basically the plan is to erupt the lava that's under the surface so it explodes the entire base. Before I even get further into the episode, the armor that the Empire was wearing in this episode between the TIE fighters and just the regular ground troops were excellent. I got such old trilogy vibes. It was freaking awesome. It was very aesthetically pleasing, and I really, really enjoyed this. Probably one of my favorite parts of the episode. So our heroes are in the base. They erupt the lava thing, and the base is about to go under in 10 minutes. So we go into this room, and there's two doctors downloading data in there, which they both look like the same doctor from season 1 of The Mandalorian. And then they start shooting at him, and then they end up dying. Then the big reveal of this episode happens. Now, this is where the episode, for me, takes the turn into my favorite episode. It's actually a cloning facility, or at least that's what it looks like. And they look to their left and there's tubes and there's people in them, and they look eerily like Snoke. And my first reaction was they looked like Palpatine, which is kind of crazy, and it kind of is bringing everything full circle and kind of makes sense. But as we're looking at these Snokes and Palpatine lookalikes, it's not confirmed, by the way, guys. I'm just a guy on YouTube who thinks that's what it looks like, and that's my opinion. So take my word with a grain of salt, please. The doctor I mentioned from last season actually shows up on a recording behind them. So basically, it's a recording to Moff Gideon, basically saying he's failed the blood transfusion between the volunteers and from the blood they took from Baby Yoda. Basically, what they're doing is blood harvesting, which if you don't know what blood harvesting is, it's taking the blood from a Force user, a high midichlorian count, and giving it to someone else who's not a Force user. But the doctor also said in the recording, he highly doubts they will find a donor, which is the child, with a higher M count, which my guess M count means midichlorians, which I don't foresee the child having a higher M count than, you know, Anakin. Anakin had around 20,000 M count, which is stronger than Master Yoda. To clarify, if you don't know much about midichlorians, 20,000 midichlorians is a lot, and which I just said is higher than Yoda's, but that doesn't mean you're more powerful than someone. All it means is you have a higher chance and probability of being strong, which Anakin, the chosen one, could have been way stronger than he actually was, but he, you know, went to the dark side. So they find all this out, and then Din Djarin's like, oh, I gotta go save the child, so he rushes out, and then our other three heroes are trying to escape. Get in this firefight, and then end up in this like armored transport. We saw it in the trailer where Cara Dune's driving and the fish guy's next to him. And right when they get off the top of the docking bay, all of the speeder bikes start to follow. And there's this cool subtle moment to where they all dive off the docking bay, to which the docking bay is actually high up, and they're coming down, and two of them hit each other's bikes and they fall over, and like two of them die. Now, I saw somewhere places people thought that was funny, but to me, I don't think that was supposed to be a funny moment. And the way I interpreted it is that in war and in battle, accidents happen. That's what I think they were showing. I think they were showing that accidents happen and people die in the process of war. Very subtle, but cool moment. Anyway, the chase ensues and they shoot them out from the transport and kill them all. Then you think it's over and everyone's safe and the heroes are safe and we won the day. In actuality, 4 TIE fighters start zooming in on the transport shooting. This is where I bring back the armor, my favorite part of this episode. In the cockpit, they look so good. The TIE fighter sounds, the shooting, everything is perfect. And then all hope is lost, and then all of a sudden the Razor Crest shows up. Now I tell you what, when I tell people my favorite ship, the Razor Crest is still up there. The Razor Crest is so good in a dogfight. He made those TIE fighters look like nothing. I'm telling you, the Razor Crest is one of the most badass ships in the galaxy. The Razor Crest is a top tier ship. Absolutely love it. The dogfight and the way he was spinning up in the air, you know, Baby Yoda had his hands up in the air when they were going upside down and all around, and he like vomits and stuff. Super cool. Then from that point, they destroy all the TIE fighters, and then they start to head their way to Corvus. We're back at the Navarro with Cara Dune, and the 2 X-Wing pilots from episode 2 of this season show up, and he's got like a flip book, and he's like, where'd you last see the Razor Crest? I absolutely loved it. They're basically galactic cops. He even calls him officer. But what happens after that scene of questioning, where his name's Captain Carson, where he walks up to Cara Dune, he says, oh man, your track record and all this, you're a great warrior. We could definitely use you in the New Republic. And she obviously denies it, because she's got a good life in Navarro. She's the Marshal, she's rid the Empire from Navarro, and she's doing a great job. And then he mentions that she's from Alderaan. But with a somber tone, he asked her, who did you lose on Alderaan? She swallows it and then turns to him and says, everyone. Now back to my original point, to where Cara Dune is such an interesting character, because we've never explored the aftermath of Alderaan and how it affected the everyday people. And she lost everyone. But it's super interesting to delve into something like that. Now we're to the juicy part, to where you all wanted me to talk about, and everyone's talking about everywhere. You get this ship coming through the shot, remnants of a New Hope opening, and actually one of the people who are preparing Din Djarin's ship actually snitches on him. Then this deck officer goes to Moff Gideon in this dark room, and there's like mist, and he looks badass, by the way. Informs him they put a tracker on the Razor Crest, and he's going to Corvus. Then we cut into his room, and there's a hallway in a whole room full of what appears to be like Imperial cyborgs. I think they're more robot than human, but I've seen other theories around that they're actually clones. But I'm gonna stick with robots because that's what they most resemble. We're gonna be able to see Ahsoka be cutting down droids again in live action. I'm so excited and cannot wait. All in all, from this episode, I just know that next week is going to be insane. That's all the time we have for today, guys. I really enjoyed this episode. Honestly, so far, this is probably my favorite episode of the entire season. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments below. Also, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It means the world to me. We are super close to 100 subscribers, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're on Instagram and you want to see Star Wars every day, make sure to follow me on Instagram at The Outer Rim. It's going to be in the description of this video. Also, I Twitch stream every single day, and if you like gaming as much as I, Make sure to follow me on Twitch. It will be in the description of this video as well. Oh, by the way, if you want to talk about The Mandalorian and have a community of Star Wars lovers, make sure to join my Discord, which is also in the description of this video. That's it for the video today, guys. Thanks for watching. And as always, may the Force be with you.